Baz from the Education Hamper. Today we're going to be running through a 11 plus English adjectives video. So here we'll have 20 questions on adjectives, questions 1 to 10, quiz you on which words are adjectives, questions 11 to 20 quiz you on using adjectives to compare things and ideas. As always, pause the video, give an answer a go, and then play again and we'll run through the solution together. So let's kick off. What is an adjective? An adjective modifies the noun in a sentence. It tells you more about a person, place, thing or idea. They can also tell you about the number of things. You can use more than one adjective to describe a noun. So examples of adjectives are: he has a blue jumper. The italics are where we're using the adjective. I am happy using the small screen. The grass looked very lush and green. The baby has lovely blue eyes. She has 5 cats. I gave Mum 10 red roses on her birthday. We have an enormous garden. The old tree was covered in beautiful moss. 1. In the sentence below, which words are adjectives? So Peter saw 2 big black scary dogs. And the options we have here are 2 big black scary, and 2 big black scary. So the answer here is 2 big black scary. Now numbers can be nouns as well as adjectives. When a number is used on its own, it is a noun. So for example, the number of digits in a UK telephone number is 11. When it is used to describe a noun, it is an adjective. This is an 11-digit telephone number. Right, on question 2, the sentence is: he was not only insolent and idle, he was also very mean. Options we have here are insolent, insolent idle, mean, insolent idle, very mean. So some useful definitions: insolent means very rude, idle means lazy, and mean means tight-fisted or stingy. So the answer here is 3, insolent, idle, mean. Now if you chose answer 4, you probably aren't very sure about the word very. So very can be used both as an adverb and as an adjective. If it is an adverb, it is used before an adjective or adverb. He always does his homework very quickly. Yeah, here's an example: yellow is a very bright color. On the other hand, it is an adjective if it's used before a noun. He put his hand into the very bottom of the barrel. So the answer here is 3, insolent, idle and mean. Question 3. The cunning fox was trying to catch the clever little red hen. And the options here we have are cunning, cunning and clever, cunning, clever, little, cunning, clever, little and red. So a useful definition of cunning means sly or sneaky. So the answer here is cunning, clever, little and red. So the word for colours are also adjectives. That's why red is part of the answer here. Right, question 4. Which words are adjectives? She has the peculiar habit of playing the violin whenever there is a full moon on a cloudless night. Very descriptive sentence there. So the options here are peculiar and full, peculiar, full, cloudless, cloudless and cloudless. So a definition of peculiar means unusual, odd, weird or strange. So the answer here is peculiar, full and cloudless. Question 5. The reasoning of the strongest is always the best. La Fontaine, Fables. Options here are strongest, best, strongest, best, strongest, always, best. Now the answer here is best. In this, the strongest is not an adjective in this example. It names a group of people whose reasoning is always best. Think of it like the rich or the homeless and so on. They're simply labels of groups for groups of people. Best is the superlative form of good. The superlative form describes the highest degree or value of the quality described. As an example, he is the best man in the team. Some adjectives have irregular forms. For example, good, better, best, or bad, worse, worst. It's good if you learn these irregular forms. Always, which is here, is an adverb. An adverb is a word that modifies, changes the meaning of a verb, adjective or adverb. In some cases it modifies a noun or pronoun. An example is she rang beautifully. So most adverbs end in a ly. Right, question 6. He is hungry and thirsty. Options here are hungry and thirsty. There are no adjectives in this sentence. Hungry, thirsty. Question 3. So the answer here is hungry and thirsty. In this sentence, the adjectives come after the pronoun he. Question 7. Her bloom red roses, dewy wet, and beds of fragrant mignonette, Elaine Goodale thistle and roses. Options here we have are bloom, red, dewy, fragrant, bloom, red, dewy, fragrant, red and dewy. Let's define a few words here. Bloom means flowers. Dewy means covered in dew, tiny water drops. Fragrant means sweet smelling, and mignonette is a fragrant flower. So the answer here is red, dewy and fragrant. Right. Question 8. She wrote quickly and neatly. She was truly a quick and neat writer. Options here are quickly and neatly, quickly and quick, neatly neat, quick and neat. The answer here is quick and neat. Now quickly and neatly are adverbs. An adverb is a word that modifies, changes the meaning of a verb, adjective or adverb. In some cases it modifies a noun or pronoun. So an example is she danced wonderfully, and as before most adverbs end in the word ly. Question 9. Mike runs fast, but Henry runs faster than him. Anyway, Dave runs the fastest of all. Options here are there are no adjectives in this sentence. Fast and faster, fast, fast, faster and fastest. So the answer here is there are no adjectives in this sentence. So the reason there are no adjectives in this sentence is because they're all adverbs. As before, an adverb is a word that describes, that modifies, changes or varies the meaning of a verb, adjective or adverb. In some cases it modifies a noun or a pronoun. So an example is they ate their food quickly. Most adverbs end in the word ly. Unfortunately, in this case, fast is one of those adverbs that doesn't end in ly and whose form is the same as the adjective fast. Fast, faster, fastest. Here, fast is used as an adverb because it describes how people run. We say it modifies the verb to run. 3 other adverbs that fall into the same group are as fast are hard. I'll write those down. Hard, early, and far. Be good to remember those. Right, question 10. Henry wrote well in his exams, but Susan wrote better. She is a really good student. Well, better, good is the first option. Then we have well, better, really, good, good, and really good. So the answer here is good. But although it looks like there are many adjectives here, there is only one adjective here. The rest are adverbs. I'll again define an adverb is a word that modifies, changes the meaning of a verb, adjective or adverb, and in some cases it modifies a noun or pronoun. Another example is they fought bravely. And as previously, most adverbs end in the word li. Well is the adverb of good. Well, better, best. Right, on to the second part of this video. On the following questions, we'll be using adjectives to compare things and ideas. There are three forms: the positive, comparative and superlative forms. What's the difference between these three forms? The positive is the based adjective, the comparative is more than the based, and the superlative is the most. So here's some examples. The positive is the word nice, the comparative is the word nicer, and the superlative is the word nicest. So question 11. Here we're looking at complete the sentence with the correct forms of the adjectives. Shopping at the supermarket is space shopping at the corner shop. Options are written below and the answer here is more economical than. So as a rule of thumb, if you're using large adjectives, I guess words that have more than two syllables, you have to use more or less and than when making comparisons. For example, she is more beautiful than my sister. You can't say she is beautifuler than my sister. And a useful definition for economical means cheap, not too expensive. Question 12. Paul has two big trees in his back garden, but the oak tree is space the ash tree. Options here are the more taller, the most tallest, taller than, tallest. So the answer here is taller than. One syllable adjectives form their comparative and superlative forms by adding the term or est. You use the form and than when you are comparing two objects or ideas, but you must use the and the est form when you are comparing more than two objects or ideas. So as an example, the tree is taller than my neighbor's tree. Two trees compared. This is the tallest tree in the forest. It's a tree compared to other trees in the forest which number two or more. Question 13. His latest album, The Rock Star, wrote space songs he has ever written. Options: the best, the goodest, the best, the bestest. And the answer here is the best. So this sentence requires a superlative form of the adjective because you are comparing the songs on his album, one album of songs, with all the other songs that he has ever written. You can't say the goodest because good has an irregular form: good, better, best. Another important adjective that falls into this category is bad, worse, worst. The form of the adjective that doesn't change is called the positive form: good, bad, beautiful, and so on. Question 14. The Missouri River is space river in the USA, but the River Nile is space it. The options are the longest, longer than, the longest, longest than, the long, longer than, the longer, the longer than. And the answer here is the longest and longer than. Here we have a superlative for the Missouri. It's because you're comparing one river with all the other rivers in the USA. Comparative for the Nile because you are comparing it with one other river, the Missouri. Don't forget, one syllable adjectives form their comparative forms by adding the words or est. And you use the form and than when you are comparing two objects or ideas, but you must use the and est form when you are comparing more than two objects or ideas. Question 15. John is as space as Arthur once he has set his mind to something. Options here are obstinator, more obstinate, the obstinatest, and obstinate. The answer here is obstinate. The as syntax sentence form requires the adjective to be in the positive form, unchanged. So the word obstinate means stubborn, determined, or pig-headed. Question 16. the space you study, the space the knowledge you gain. Options: hard or greater, hard and great, more hard, more great, harder, greater. The answer here is harder and greater. The syntax sentence form, the and the, requires the adjective to be in the comparative form. In this case, you add to the end of each adjective. Question 17. Her professor was the man who had space on her future choice of career. The options here are the influenced, the most influenced, the most influence, the mostest influence. So the answer here is the most influence. So this sentence requires a superlative form of the adjective because you're comparing the professor's influence with the influence of all the other people. So as a rule of thumb, if you have large adjectives, more than 2 syllables, you have to use the and most or least when forming the superlative. An example here would be, this is the most exciting party that I've ever been to. So influential here means important, and having the ability to make people do what you think is right. Question 18. Dave would like a space sugar in his tea. Peter would like space sugar then Dave, and Bill would like space sugar of all. Options here are little, less, the least, little, least, less, less, little, least, least, less, little. And the answer here is the first one, little, less, the least. Less has an irregular form, little, less, least. Dave is simply stating how much sugar he wants, so the adjective remains in the positive form, unchanged. Peter is stating how much sugar he wants in comparison to Dave, so the adjective goes into the comparative. And finally, Bill is stating how much sugar he wants in comparison to the other 2 people, so the adjective goes into the superlative. Question 19. Studying for the chemistry exam was space, then studying for the maths exam. Easier, easier, easiest, the more easier. And the answer here is easier. Now here you mustn't forget to change the Y to I before you add the or est. So it's easy, easier, and easiest. Only 2 things are being compared, so you need the comparative of easy, easier. When the adjective ends in a consonant, so any letter other than the vowels A, E, I, O, U, and Y, you must change the Y to an I. For example, happy, happier, and happiest. Happy is spelt with a Y, so happy. So those are the rules that we need to follow here. Right, final question here. Question 20. The kitten is space, then the puppy. Playfuller, more playful. The playfuller, playerful. So the answer here is more playful. So you got to make sure you keep an eye out for adjectives that end in full and less. So for example, useful and useless. And the other examples are careful, careless, harmful, harmless, homeless. There is no homeful, and so on. Only 2 things are being compared, so you need the comparative, more playful. The superlative would be the most playful. So that's the end of the video. I really hope you found this useful. If you did, please leave a comment, like and subscribe. I really thank you for running through this with me. There'll be other videos on English, on adverbs coming up. But do take the time to run through this yourself and really get to grips with adjectives. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.